Hey heroes, we are live at 5 and it's the 7th of these Facebook Lives and it's the 3rd where we've got an HMO hero coming on the show. And I'm delighted that today we've got with us Abagail Dempsey from Seneca Rooms, and she has achieved so much. I have taken a few notes just so I can get this all across to you. But Abagail moved back and forwards between the UK and Australia, and she moved here permanent when she was 23. And she went into her brother's to help her brother with his small business, which had at the time 7 staff, and she helped him grow it into a multi-million-pound business, international business with 50 staff in the UK alone. She's always had that sort of systems mindset. And then when Abagail left the business, her brother had to take on 3 staff in order to replace her. When she got into property after that, she bought 6 HMOs in 9 months, and now she says she wishes she'd bought more. But the thing that really excites me is that Abagail's created systems so that you can get a VA into your business without worrying about training them, without worrying about trusting them, because she will do all that for you. So absolute gold dust. So hope you really enjoy this one. I want to welcome to the show HMO hero Abagail Dempsey. Hi, Abagail. Lovely to have you.
What a lovely introduction. That's really sweet of you.
Great, thank you. Well, let's dive right in, Abagail. So let's start from the beginning in Oz. I'm sure people will hear that accent there.
Yeah. Oh, what do you want to know? What it was like growing up, or how I grew up? I was born in Australia, but I actually yo-yoed backwards and forwards between England and Australia quite a bit when I was a kid, but settled in Australia throughout my teenage years, which was where the accent really developed. Quite quiet kid, working class family, really liked, well, I realized because we didn't have any money to do the things I wanted to do, I was really motivated to go out and make money. So I went down to the local McDonald's and was begging them for a job for 9 months before they actually, before I was legally allowed to be employed. So I wanted to work from a really, really young age, and I wanted money and I wanted independence from a young age. So I think things kind of set off from there. Then I worked in hospitality most of my time in Australia until I came over to England to be with my brother, which you mentioned. I went into business with him to help him with his business.
And I didn't know piercing was such a big business. So
he'd set up the first body piercing studio in London. So it was right in the heyday. It was in the 90s. It was when the whole thing was exploding with popularity. You know, it was crazy. The shop that we had was just brimming with customers. We had 3-week waiting lists and things like this. It was huge. Yeah.
But the business was actually, what I didn't realise, it was in manufacturing the little trinkets that you put in the piercings.
We did everything, yeah. So it started off as a piercing studio, and then we were so busy all the time that the wholesale, the big wholesale company in Europe, they couldn't keep up with our demand, how much stock we constantly needed. So we started, we went out to local manufacturers in Birmingham and different places throughout England, steel manufacturers, and gave them designs and got them to manufacture for us. So we set up a wholesale company as well. So we were wholesaling, manufacturing and retailing, within the industry.
Fantastic. And also you were getting them produced internationally, weren't you? And
yeah, go on.
Selling them also in America.
Yeah. So the business was it just expanded so quickly. We had customers all through Europe as well. We had distributors in Europe, set up shops in America. We had a couple of piercing studios out there that did tattooing as well. Had a wholesale operation in America as well. It was, it was a whirlwind actually. So we I don't know, we used to go around and talk to councils throughout the country, educating them about body piercing. Everything was going crazy at the time, you know. People were getting infections. Councils didn't know what to do about this new thing that everyone was getting into. So we used to go and educate them about what safe body piercing was. And we were just in everything. We were doing everything.
So it sounds really exciting. And how many years were you involved for?
So I was there for 7 years. Felt much longer. Certainly a couple of grey hairs in that time. That's, you know, for a young girl. But yeah, I was there 7 years before I felt like I needed to change.
So is that when you got? I was guessing that because you had to get at least 3 staff to replace you. So so you burned out and you decided to take a break, and that's where take up the story from there.
My midlife crisis years, I call it, although now I hope that doesn't end up being literal, because I was 30 at the time when I had my midlife crisis. I left the business, left my brother's business, and I decided I was fed up with business. I was fed up with numbers. I was fed up with people. I'd had enough. Looking back, I was a good manager. I was good at running the business, but I was young. I wasn't experienced, and I made a lot of mistakes. That's why I burnt out so badly. But I just wanted to work with food and just be creative, and food wasn't going to be late for work, and food wasn't going to be back. And I decided to go back to restaurants, since that's what I was familiar with, but work on the other side of a restaurant, work in the kitchen. And I had found a restaurant that I really liked. It felt quite Melbourne, so I felt really comfortable, like at home. And I asked them for a job. I heard that they had a position available for a baker. I talked through with my partner. It means I'd be doing graveyard shifts and things. And I said, yeah, go for it. And then when I actually arrived at the interview, he said, actually, I'm not looking for a baker. I need a pastry chef. I've never really eaten cake throughout my life, let alone make cake. I'm not really into sugar or anything like that. But I thought, what the hell, I'll give it a try. So enjoyed me. It's a quite famous restaurant in London, which people would go there for a day and work for free just so that they could have that place on their CV. You know, so I felt quite honoured to be there, really. Yeah. Well,
I love the way you throw yourself into everything with such gusto, because it's from building up that business and then straight from there throwing yourself into becoming a pastry chef and having some of your recipes published as well.
Yes, yes, I did. Yeah.
But then you decided that wasn't quite for you.
Yeah, it was awful. Oh my God, my skin went completely grey because I never saw sunlight. I was eating sugar all the time and not eating proper meals. Working as a pastry chef, you work alone most of the time. So it was quite lonely as well. And I was broke. I'd gone from getting a nice income working with my brother to a really low income working as a pastry chef. So I kind of hit rock bottom, broke. My partner and I split, so I was broke, single. I never had any time, no sleep, whatever, the whole lot. And so I was a bit of a mess. And, my big brother came and swept me up in his arms and gave me a good talking to, and helped to straighten me out a bit.
And it was because of him that you really got started off in property.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, so he continued with the body piercing business and was making really great money, started to invest some of that money into property, and he'd done a course with, what are they called now? I think they're called Legacy now, used to be Tiger, and back when we did the training with them, they were called Whitney.
Yeah.
But yeah, he'd started doing a course with Whitney, and he said, "Come on, I know you just need to focus on something, put your energy into something really positive. Why don't you get into property like me?" And so he paid for me to do the training, and I absolutely loved it. Just threw myself into it, and
And boy, oh boy, did you get started or what?
Yeah.
So you did the training and you wasted no time at all. And let me just say hi to Sudeep. Thanks for the thumbs up.
Yes.
So go on then, Abagail. You tell us you started and then you...
Yeah, so the training course, I think I started the training course January 2007. I bought my first place in March, which actually wasn't a HMO. It was just a complete dive of a flat, and I moved into it. I was living in someone's back bedroom, a friend's back bedroom. So yeah, I bought this dive of a flat that needed complete gutting, but I lived in it as a dive. While I was living there, I then went on and bought all the HMOs, which actually the HMOs were all purchased in a 4-month period, I think.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, between September and February. What's that, 5 months maybe?
So right.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, so it's 6 HMOs in 5 months.
Yeah.
Not 6 HMOs in 9 months as I'd put down.
First property in the March, and then the other property September to February, January.
Yeah, 2007. So obviously not something that people can do now, but...
Oh, yeah.
What a day. So how did it go with buying the 6 in 5 months?
Yeah, it was amazing, actually. I think I was just running on adrenaline. It was really fun to be in that buzz again. It was the same buzz I got when I was running the business with my brother, actually, this constant high energy. It was a real buzz. Looking back now, gosh, it was so easy back then. And, you know, if other people who are just getting involved in property now listen to my story and feel like a little bit of anger or envy or whatever, it was ridiculously easy back then. And if only I had understood and I had appreciated that, and I had a bit more self-belief or something at the time, I would have taken things much further, but I didn't. I got these properties, had a bit of a meltdown after everything had, gone through. I'd set them all up. I got them all. It wasn't so much refurb needed, so got all the places, got them all set up ready as HMOs, furnished them all, got the tenants in, system's going, everything's fine. And then it just sort of hit me and I had a meltdown. Yeah. Oh my God. This is
when you were buying the 6th one, wasn't it?
Yeah. We were sat at the front, my brother and I were sat in a van at the front of the house, and I had a bit of a, what the hell am I doing? I can't do this. I can't go in there. I just can't handle anymore. It was a proper meltdown, and he kind of, that's when he scooped me up and marched me inside and said, yep, you can do this. And but it was, I carried on, thankfully, but that was the last property I bought, because I'd already had the meltdown, so I just couldn't cope with the growth or something like that, the accelerated growth. So yeah.
Well, basically you went from naught, no property experience, to 31 tenants within 5 months, single-handedly running everything on your own, doing all the, luckily you are a systems wizard, setting everything up. But I don't think most people, and although it didn't need refurb, but obviously they needed furnishing and all the other bits and pieces and the fire doors and all the rest of it. So that was your strategy though, wasn't it? Buying it in good condition, so that you didn't have a refurb to do.
Yes, absolutely. That was all part of the strategy that we chose to work to. Yeah.
And give us an idea, if you can remember back this far, of how the numbers worked on those sort of deals.
So if I go back to the first one, being the little flat that I lived in, remember I said I had no money. and this is what's going to annoy people, I know, I'm really sorry. That was 145. I got a 95% loan to value mortgage. I borrowed 5,000 from my mother, and I put in £2,500–3,000. So that got the first property. Then borrowed the money off my brother to do the training course. So it's another 25,000 or something for those ones. And then the first properties came along, and so back then you would purchase on a 100% bridge, remortgage on the, and I was buying everything below market value. So you would purchase on a 100% bridge, and you could remortgage on the same day at market value rather than at the value that you purchased it for. So
is this the bit where people are throwing things at you?
Yeah. I mean, days when they were offering 120% mortgages and stuff. This is why the whole mortgage market fell apart. It's they were doing really crazy stuff. And yeah, I wish I had taken better advantage of it back then.
Well, I think you did well.
I did enough. I did enough that I could handle. Yeah.
So the numbers that you took out, because you were just saying, how much did you get to take out after when you bought your flat?
My flat, well, I refurbished my flat using money I took out from the HMOs. So with the HMOs, same day bridge and remortgage, I took out between 40 and 50,000 each property on the day of purchase.
Wow. Oh my God. It's too much.
It's sickening. It really is sickening. I know.
You buy a house and you get 50 grand given to you, and then you've got your tenants to pay off the mortgage. I mean, it is just...
That money paid to furnish the places, it paid for the refurbishment, it paid for the stamp duty, the legals, it paid for everything. It paid for the refurbishment of my flat. It paid, I bought a new home, it paid for that. It's
fabulous.
Yeah, it went a lot of different places. So I don't see what I did as being particularly clever in any way. All I did was I had the courage to take advantage of what was available in the marketplace. I know that courage ran out and I had a meltdown, but I had the courage to take advantage of what was available, and I just went headfirst into it. So maybe that's, if anyone was to admire anything, maybe that, but certainly there was no cleverness on my part or in buying the places or anything like that.
Well, you know what? It's taking advantage of the opportunities that you have. Other people had the same information, went on the same course perhaps and did nothing, but you got out there, went straight in, all guns blazing, and, did what you did. And we've had a couple of comments. James Masters, hi James, says, crazy days of free money. James, did you buy anything in those days? Let us know in the comments. Yes, definitely the bit. What's that mean, Nick? Let me know in the comments. Okay, so you've got these 6 HMOs now, you're having your meltdown, you've got 31 tenants in 5 months. But you mentioning that this was early days for doing HMOs for professionals. It wasn't a main done thing at that stage.
Absolutely, yeah.
10 years ago.
Very much. The HMOs back then were more for kind of blue collar and I don't know, 40-year-old alcoholics or something who'd been kicked out of the house by the wife, or I don't know. It was a certain type of person that lived in HMOs. So actually, they didn't fill instantly. I remember the first place that I had, the poor girl lived in this big 3-story house on her own for 2 months before she had another tenant to come and live with her. Yeah. So it was slow going in the beginning, and it's certainly not. I don't know. I did a property for an investor a couple of years ago. From completion, it was a 5-bed place. From the day that we were handed the keys that the builders had completed, we cleaned the place, furnished the place, and got 5 tenants, and all moved in within 2 weeks. It's completely different to what it was like 11 years ago. So, but it was tough days back then. But once we got it all, everything was running smoothly and the houses were filled. It it was cool. It was good.
Yeah, hats off for the 6 tenants. So what made you decide, even though the HMOs were mainly for blue collar or DSS as we now call shorthand, what made you think to go, I'll go for professionals?
I knew that there would be a marketplace for professionals. And actually what people were calling them back then was executive house shares.
Right, okay.
What that basically meant is it was people who had a job, and maybe they worked in an office or something. That was an executive house share. But the places that I had seen as executive house shares, they all looked the same. They were so soulless. They'd have the same £2 pictures picked up from Asda or something on the walls, or I don't know. They just look like cheap B&Bs. Cheap furniture. There was clearly no design skills in any way. No homeliness to any of the places. Everything very magnolia, and I was going through a very white and grey phase back then. Maybe it's the Aussie thing as well. A little bit ahead when it comes to design and things. So yeah, I went in and just whited everything, and white floor, white walls, and grey furniture and stuff, and did my best to make things as homely as possible, to just, I don't know, carve out a new niche or something like that.
Yeah. Well, just looking at the comments, James said he only managed to get one property while you were buying back in the hate crazy days.
And it was right at the end before they changed things.
Yeah, and Nikki said, she would definitely have been throwing things. I'm paraphrasing a bit.
Yeah.
Well gel, hashtag well gel. So I think we talked when we had our chat, you told me that they were cash flowing very well once you got everything up and running. And I think, do you know what they're cash flowing now? Approx on your...
Gosh, I know my. I've got these properties, and I've got one rent to rent left. I had some rent to rents that I've gradually been giving back. So I'm now getting about 15,000 a month.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
For expenses, that's gross.
Fantastic. So you've got 3 properties and now 15 grand a month. I mean, I know it's hard work as well, but it's great. So well done you. What was it? We then went on. We touched on the rent to rent, but I know you just didn't feel that was for you. But when we had our discussion, there was one thing that I thought was a real nugget for people. You mentioned the prima donna landlords, because we've talked before about all the different kinds of landlords that you meet when you're doing rent to rent.
This is a difficult subject to discuss. I found it really tough, actually. I'd heard Susanna Cole first mention the term prima donna landlords at a talk that she did. It was the very first time I came across Susanna Cole, and I thought it was quite comical or a cute way to describe, and I understood the personality type that she was describing, but I didn't expect that I would come across a landlord like that, and I found it really, really tough to deal with. And actually, funnily, today I've been writing a post about boundaries, and that's 100% how you need to deal with someone who has this prima donna type personality as a client or whatever, whether it's a tenant, whether it's a landlord, or the boundaries, and being very clear on boundaries is absolutely the best way.
And I think you learn that as you go along. There's no substitute for experience. There's so much that we've learned even in the short time that we've been doing it. But going to this boundaries piece that you did, you've got an amazing blog, and that's how I initially came across you, because of the GDPR. So I will put that in the links as well, so you can have a look for any of you who are still wondering what to do about GDPR. So boundaries, I think, is so important, because how it came up was you'd seen a post on Facebook, hadn't you? Tell us again what that was.
Yeah, the boundaries post. It was this morning. I woke up and saw a guy had a bit of a rant on Facebook, one of the Facebook groups, and it was kind of like a HMOs are awful. They'll ruin your life. Don't do it. Something along these lines. And as it came about, people were saying, "Oh, it's not so bad. Just outsource, give it to a manager or whatever." I'll do rent. I do rent to rent. I'll take your troubles away. All this stuff. And giving more and more information, and it's actually quite. It was quite sad. Some of the situation, some of the things that he's experiencing. It's really, it's really tough. He's having a really tough time. And reading through all the messages, it really became clear to me. People saying you just need systems, and you just need, kick your DSS tenants out and put professionals in. That will solve all your problems. And for me, reading through all the messages, what jumped out at me was this real lack of boundaries. This inability to draw boundaries and to express boundaries and to maintain those boundaries with his tenants, and that's.
Yeah, because what had happened was quite shocking, wasn't it? He said he'd been beaten up 3 times, this person, by a tenant.
Yeah, that really shocked me. When I read that bit, I think the bit that really hit me was that, wow, okay, this is quite serious. This is not just a landlord who's a bit fed up and had his boundaries crossed a few times, but serious boundaries have been crossed here. It's quite sad.
It is. That is really shocking. Well, talking about systems, because they are so important, and if you want to sort of get some of that work off your plate, then you've developed your systems, haven't you?
Yeah, you know what? I would never really describe myself as a systems person, but maybe it's kind of always happened by default. When I worked with my brother in the business, he was kind of the galloping horse, always charging off for the new idea, always wanting to expand and grow, and I was always the one kind of pulling the reins, going, "Hey, hold on, let us manage what we've got first." And so in order to try and keep up with him, I had to keep creating systems and processes for us to be able to manage things. Otherwise, it would have been chaos. So I did that in that business because it's something he's not brilliant at. I naturally took the role. But I have to admit, my own landlord business, I did not have systems or processes for, 6-7 years. I just happily went along doing things my way and relied on rapport a lot of the time to get by. But I realized that what I really needed to be doing in order to free up my time more so that I could put more into other areas of my life, I really needed to systemize things. I needed to bring in people, not do everything myself. I needed to get everything out of my head that all came so naturally to me. I needed to turn it all into a process or multiple processes. This became a really important for me over the last few years. So I spent a few years, I went through a few VAs in the process, didn't quite get the right one first off. So I finally got VAs and created systems and processes and everything to really, relieve me of my time. But one thing I really enjoyed about it as well is that I feel the business is so much more professional now. Everything is it's not relying on me and my rubbish memory to communicate with the tenants about things. It's not relying on me and my rubbish memory to remember to fix something that someone's told me about when I was at the house one time. So if everything is systemized and put through these processes, and you've got staff that are following these processes. I don't follow my processes. I'll bend the rules. They don't. And it's perfect. It means that everything runs really professionally and with still with warmth and still with customer service values at it as well.
I love what you're saying. I had to laugh. I thought Nikki would have been commenting there when you said that your brother is the one who gallops off and is doing all these other things, and she's the one. So you're the one sort of reining things back and saying, right, we need the processes, we need the systems, we need everything in place. Yeah, I bet you can't guess which one I am. But yeah, the systems are so important. The reason why I'm so aware of it, because I'm not a systems person, is that I run another business, and through experience, that's where I learned. That was where I went wrong with that business. Not enough was outsourced, not enough was systemized. And so as soon as we started using the management software, but we also brought in, like you're saying, systems to operate the business so that we don't have to do it forever. We don't have to be here forever. Eventually we'll be out of the business. So I think this is so attractive to people as a proposition of somebody coming in, because I think the difficult bit is finding your VA, someone who you can trust, how do you know, and also then training your VA. So I know that you have an ebook which explains to people how they can do that.
Yes, it's all about well, first of all, mindset. It touches on mindset first. So what one of my blog posts is about getting ready for a VA, because what I discovered through my process is that you need to be ready to let go. A lot of people who have been running a business on their own for any length of time, they really struggle with that. And it's something that guy mentioned in the Facebook group this morning. They said he just can't let go. He can't trust anyone. But you need to let go. And if you've come in, like yourself, you've had that experience before, so you know that it's something you need to do from the beginning. But not everyone knows that. And you can tell them that they need to get a VA, but that there'll be this block, this thing that keeps blocking them. It's this fear of letting go. So, I wrote one post and touched on it a little bit in the ebook as well about being ready to let go. And then the ebook goes further into how to find your VA, what specific traits that they need to have for a good VA, what to write in the advertisement, how to turn your role into a process and step-by-step instructions and things like that. So
I see we've got a comment. Yes, James. Letting go is the hardest part. No one can do it like you can, which is probably true at the beginning.
When you change your mindset, and again, this is what I talk about in that blog post, when you change your mindset about it, actually, there are people out there that can do it better than you.
Really? No.
Yes. So when you the first time you think, no, absolutely never. I'm the best. No one else cares like me. No. But when you're realistic, I'm rubbish at all the admin stuff. I really am. Okay, I can be organized, but it's not something I enjoy. There's other things I enjoy more. And really, the paper just ends up piling up on the desk, and then I have a fit one day where I organize it all. If I could find someone who loves organization, I remember a girl who used to work for us in the business with my brother, and my God, she was bossy and all these words, but she was the most amazing organizer ever. And so I pictured her when I realized I was ready for a VA and I'd gone through all the struggles of hiring the wrong people. I held in my mind this friend of mine who this bossy and super organized, efficient woman. And I found Christine, I love you. I found who is absolutely, she loves organization. She is better than me. She pulls me up when I make mistakes, and I love it because I want her to be better than me at that stuff. There's other things that I'm much better at, of course.
So I'm going to go on.
No.
I'm going to ask you a few questions. So what is your number one tip? If somebody, apart from read your ebook, just something you can say now, if somebody wants to outsource, they've got themselves ready, they think they're ready to give it up, what should they do first?
Think about your role and turn it into processes. So I've heard people like Rob Moore say things like, I don't know, write down all of the tasks that you do and then write a note next to it, like you can delegate, which ones you can delegate, which ones you keep. I tried that. That didn't really work for me. So what I did was I thought about what I do in my job, or say, I don't know, renting a room. First thing you do is put in an advertisement, you put the advertisement up, you respond to inquiries, you arrange an appointment to meet with them, to view, you go and meet them, then they pay the reservation and so forth and so forth, you know, the application. So I broke it down like that into a process, and like I said, everything was natural, you know, you just did it without thinking. So you have to think of it in this way, break it all down into a process, and once you've got it broken down into a process, do step by step.
Great. And do you and then you can give that to them.
Exactly.
And then do you have a test, or what would you say is the best way to test a VA to see if they've got the attributes that are necessary for a property VA? Yeah,
a few things. Well, people might have noticed the spelling of my name is not standard. So that was one little trick, that if people would, in the advertisement, the post that I would put up looking for a VA, if they wrote a response saying, "Hi Abigail, and they've spelled my name wrong," then their attention to detail is not sufficient by my standards. I'd also ask them somewhere in the job listing, I would put some stupid code that I'd created and say, please put this code in the beginning, I don't know, somewhere in your proposal, please put it at the beginning of your proposal. And a lot of people wouldn't do that, so I'd instantly dismiss them. So it's putting in these little ways to check. I need an admin person to have great attention to detail. So if they can't pick up on these little things, if they're going to spell my name wrong, they might spell a tenant's name wrong. That's not acceptable.
So yeah, that I love what you're saying, because it's these things that you know from experience that you don't know the first time. So we actually took on a VA when we first started. It was just the two of us, so we were doing everything, and I was more based in Newport than Nikki at that time, so it was on my plate for all the ASTs, deposits, blah 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 blah, referencing, viewing, so. Bloody nightmare it was. But anyway, the first lot of people we were doing, it was 10 all in one go for the first 2 properties, so 10 people to get through that process. And so we took on a VA, and she was absolutely amazing. We were so lucky with her, Dawn, and we had a process, but we didn't know all of these things. It's just luck. It could have so easily have been, you know, the other way. But what I'm going to say about that is we were spending about £30 a week, around there. Nikki could probably correct me and say that's totally wrong. But what I love is that with your system, I could just come to you and say, right, you do everything online, you do all of the online stuff, and pay a percentage, but actually the percentage would be less than what we were actually paying to have our own VA and having to manage that. And like if your VA goes on holiday or whatnot, you're out of sorts. But whereas with you're covering everything, you've tested everyone, you've showed them the system, you've given them the templates, you've done everything. So there's nothing for me as, you know, doing all of that, showing the person how to do it, making up the processes and all of that is all redundant. So tell us about what you're offering.
Okay, so I've decided, I've scaled what I've created with me, myself and my VAs. And we're offering what we're calling a virtual management service. So that we can do virtual lettings or virtual management. And in both cases, we do all of the work that can be done from a computer and a desk, basically. And anything that requires presence on the ground, like actually conducting a viewing or meeting a tenant to move them into the house, or meeting with a contractor at the house to let them in, then that's all down to the landlord. But anything that can be dealt with remotely, we deal with that.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely fantastic. And even better is that the rate that you're charging is phenomenal, in my opinion, having gone through the process of hiring our own and obviously investing significant time in setting up the processes. And the other thing is that I like that you use an online system, so that if a landlord doesn't have an online tenant management system, you've got all that for them. So that's another saving, because say we subscribe, for example, to our tenant management system. Again, I don't know the price of these things. Nikki's the financial control. But say if it was £30 a month, then I'm saving that by using your services, because you've already got that in place for me, and then I can log into your system and see, if I want to, see what's going on.
Yeah, it's full transparency, which is great. So at any time, you just log into your landlord's dashboard and you can see tenancy agreements and all the paperwork that's all been filed in the right places for you. You can see any issues that have been logged that you haven't necessarily been informed about. There can be landlords can be informed. Some landlords, I guess, if they're used to having a lot of control, they do want to be informed. And I actually prefer to give more communication than less. So I prefer to just inform you of stuff, and you can just read it and go, okay, no response. There's no need for you to respond, but okay, that's happening. Okay, that's happening. It's better to be informed about stuff. So yeah, in the system, you can see everything there, but we also have emails that will go out to you informing you about things as well. Yeah,
I just think it's I wish it'd been around when we were kicking off, but so, and I know that you've put a special offer as well if anybody wants to try it out. Well, only 5 people, isn't it? It's only 5 people.
So we've done the virtual lettings and the virtual management services, and virtual lettings, we've tried and tested it so many times, we've got it down pat. It's absolutely fine. The virtual management, really we need 5 landlords to come on board to help us develop the automated bits, just to tweak everything and make it really perfect. So yeah, we want to offer to 5 landlords that we can do the virtual management for them. It's not the lettings part, it's just the management part, at half price. And so for HMOs, the rate is 7% of your rents per month. So we would do it at 3.5% per month for the first 3 months of the contract. And it's 1 year, like a normal letting agent. You sign up, or normal management company, you sign up for a year's contract. So if you have a 12-month contract, 3 months at 50%, so just 3.5%.
Yeah, so people can try it out and see, if they like it. Now, Judith asks, which management software do you use?
Arthur Online. Yeah.
What do you use, Judith? Or are you using anything at the moment, Judith? Because if you did want to try it out and you weren't using anything at the moment, then Abagail would put you onto her system, which would obviously save you the cost of getting the management software. So put in the comments. I think you. I don't know from memory, Judith, whether you use Arthur or not, but let me know in the comments what you use.
The other point is with Arthur is we can either manage people's properties within our own Arthur system. So if you don't have any system at all, then we can just manage your properties in our system. If you have your own after system, we can manage your after system, which will link up to your Xero accounts, and so you can have that full functionality, and we can still manage the system for you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Judith just said no. Let me have a look. She's still not tried Arthur because she found it difficult to get her head around. I think some people do say that. Maybe I should just try again and sit down until I've got it done. Well, yeah. I mean, I think whichever system you've got, your end game has to be to get somebody else to be managing it for you. All the ASTs, deposits, you need to oversee it, or have someone in your business who's overseeing what's being done on your behalf, because obviously those things are business critical, the legal consequences and all of that sort of thing. But your end game has to be to have somebody else who's interacting with your software, whichever software you've got. So,
the beauty of them is that you can have a virtual assistant in another country. If you wanted to train your own assistant, and say you were using another package, we've talked about the GoTenant, the
Podio. Engine Room, it's called. Engine Room, it's called.
What's that?
Engine Room. I said Podio, but it's actually called Engine Room.
That's Francis's one, isn't it? And
Francis's is called Engine Room.
GoTenant, that's just
Rick Evans is called GoTenant.
I haven't looked at either of those actually, but I mean, whichever program you use, if you've got a VA and you've set up your processes and you've step by step how to run your management programs, whichever one you use, and you give that to a VA who's working in another country, then, which is one of my VAs is in the Philippines, then you've got cheap labor. If it's a less crass way to say that I would have come out with it, but you've got someone working for you at a lower income, but they're working in a system that is, you're both working in at the same time. They can be on the other side of the world. It doesn't matter. It's just the beauty of all this technology that
it is, but that's it's a bit scary taking the plunge and doing the step by step and training somebody up. If you're just at the beginning, maybe you've got 2 or 3 properties coming on and you just want a solution. I think that's where and also if you haven't got the software already in place, I think that's where your solution would be ideal for someone to get everything done, and having one person that you can come to, but having everything available to you online.
And already experienced, rather than having to train.
So what I'll do is I'll put a link to the ebook if you're interested in training your own VA, and also we'll put details of the offer and how you can get in touch, and then you have a chat with Abagail and see if it's something that could work for you or not, or whether you want to sort of DIY. It's each to their own, isn't it, really? Oh, Abagail, you've frozen. Can you still hear me? Oh dear, I've not had this before. Not sure what to do. I think what I'll do is, because we seem to have lost Abagail, so I think what I'll do is I'll just wrap it up there. Thanks so much for watching and for joining us tonight about the VAs, and we will put all the links and details below so that you can get in touch with Abagail if you're interested in having a chat about this, either in getting your own VA or working with Abagail and using her VAs in a system that you can see. So we'll be back again next week, and look forward to seeing you guys all then. Bye for now.